welcome to our final session in the Mindful Living course. In our previous sessions, we were looking at some of the basics of meditation, so focusing on the breath and body awareness. In this last session, we're going to bring all of our learning together and look at how the mindfulness attitudes and values can enhance our meditation practice. So, let's go inside for the final time and explore further. There are many names and terms that we could use to describe the ideas and values that underpin mindfulness and meditation practices. However, for this course, which is a beginner's course, we've tried to condense some of this learning and wisdom into 3 core concepts. We call them the 3 C's because each word begins with the letter C. So we have curiosity, compassion, and calm centre.
So we'll be looking at how the 3 C's can help us respond rather than react to experiences that we have. The skill of responding rather than reacting really is the epitome of mindfulness. But remember, this is a beginner's course. We're learning to take steps, step by step, rather than striving for perfection. Even really experienced meditators will struggle and find things tricky at times. So be kind to yourself as you start to explore these ideas of the 3 C's.
Okay, let's think about the 3 C's, break them down a bit. Should we start with curiosity? Curie, I feel like you could talk about this.
Curiosity. It makes me feel like I'm a curious scientist, except the experiment is on me. So I'm being curious enough to actually stop and wonder what's going on for me, kind of checking in with myself. And without that basic level of curiosity, it's very hard to do any kind of mindfulness. It all involves pausing and paying attention as the kind of starting point. And as with scientists, we're aiming to bring a sense of observation to what we find, to stay open-minded and interested. So through this process, we're connecting to our present moment experience, and it's one with gentle curiosity. So we're not going to respond in a harsh way to what we find. We're trying our best not to judge or even to analyse our experience too much. Staying with the experience is the same as treating it like an experiment. We don't need to predict what the outcome is going to be. Instead, we're aiming to just be genuinely curious of each moment as it unfolds. We might name something of our experience, perhaps noting, oh, stress is here, or I'm noticing this body sensation or certain thoughts. But that's very different to kind of getting caught up, analysing it, or trying to block it, or make it something quite different. In a sense, we're developing a sense of curiosity that's a bit like the value of beginner's mind, in that we can be genuinely curious about each moment as if we've never had it before, which of course we haven't if you think about it. So that's curiosity. Why don't we have a think about compassion? What do you think, Sarah?
To me, compassion is about the heart. The words that describe compassion for me are kindness and caring. Kindness and caring towards other people, but also towards ourselves. Compassion for other people can often be a relatively easy thing to do. However, turning that on ourselves, being compassionate towards ourselves, can often be really quite tricky or difficult. Why is that? Compassion has been rooted in mindfulness traditions for thousands of years, and it's considered that compassion can be one of the antidotes to suffering. So the theory is that we always have difficulties and difficult situations and experiences in life, but what turns a minor difficulty into something that actually feels really overwhelming and unmanageable? And the answer is we have a tendency to throw in judgments and to throw in self-criticism about our experience. This is the experience we're having and the situation we're in. We'll throw in judgment. This is how we want it to be. That creates an area where we have lots of judgment, that impacts on our emotions, the impact on further thinking, and we create this suffering in between, because quite often the reality is in life, we're in this situation, we can't actually change it or make it different in any way. We don't have that control. So it isn't really very helpful. Imagine if we were in this situation and we add some compassion. It could be something as simple as a phrase that we say to ourselves. It could be, I'm okay. I can manage this. Whatever it is, I can handle it. How might the situation be different? We could even go a step further. It may seem counterintuitive, but we could almost welcome some of these minor difficulties into our life as an opportunity to be able to practice self-compassion, so we can really start to develop that skill. So I've mentioned that self-compassion can actually be quite difficult and tricky. If you find it difficult and tricky, we happen to have a meditation specifically for compassion. It's called the Compassion Generator. So if you're one of those people that finds it tricky, perhaps go to the website and have a listen to the MP3 audio file of the Compassion Generator, or we have the full meditation in the course booklet. So we've considered curiosity and compassion. What do we mean then by calm centre? Katie, could you shed some light on this?
For me, calm centre is like looking through a telescope, looking at the situation that I'm in from afar. This gives me a new perspective on what's unfolding. So I can see myself from a bit of a distance, and I can see what's going on moment to moment. It's like I'm running around, I'm all flustered, perhaps there's lots of emotions and chaos around me, and it's like the problems and emotions that I'm experiencing are the most important ever. But actually, with a bit of perspective, I can see that perhaps, well, maybe there's a bit of context around there, and maybe holding on to those problems and emotions so tightly is a little unhelpful. And perhaps with some distance, I can hold them a bit more lightly, perhaps not take things quite as seriously as I had been before. I find it really steadying to realise that in the midst of upheaval and stress and emotions flying around, that there is a calm centre that's available. There's a place, a steady place for me to stand from and observe the comings and goings of the different difficulties or emotions. It allows me to see that perhaps these thoughts and emotions don't have to be completely overwhelming. They are difficult, but they come and go. So you might be thinking, well, this sounds nice, it sounds great even, but how on earth do I find my calm centre? It kind of feels like it's missing sometimes. Well, of course, it's completely normal to feel rattled, stressed, and to react to situations. Practicing mindfulness won't make you calm all of the time. I certainly am not, and I react to situations just like anyone else. However, practicing mindfulness just allows you to glimpse these moments of your calm centre. It might be in the middle of a breathing meditation. You just connect with the coming and going of the breath, and there's just a moment of calm, of quiet, or whatever feels like your glimpse of your calm centre. Or it could be in a walking meditation as you just feel your feet moving against the ground, feeling supported by the earth. These could be your glimpses of your own calm centre if you can just notice and bring some curiosity to them. By being able to connect to this calm centre, this allows a possibility of responding a little differently, perhaps even bringing a bit more wisdom to situations that we would otherwise react or become overwhelmed by. Now, everyone's calm centre is going to look or feel a little different. And through your practice of your mindfulness meditation, hopefully you'll begin to get these glimpses of what your calm centre looks and feels like. But basically, what we're saying here is that when you experience difficulties, when anyone experiences difficulties or emotions coming and going, there's always a calm centre there to be found. It just takes a little bit of practice to be able to notice where it is and how you feel it in your own body. So let me take a little bit of a look here. Hang on. Jack looks like he's in trouble. I think we need to go and help him.
This car start. Never starts. Why is it like everything always go wrong for me? I'm going to be late for work. Oh, my boss is going to get really angry. Stupid car. And what is this doing in here? Like, seriously, nothing's going right for me right now.
Hey, Jack, put this on and be a curious scientist. What do you notice?
Right, curious scientist. Well, I'm just noticing that, you know, I'm really stressed right now. I'm really angry. I'm like frustrated that my car won't start. My body feels really tense. Like my heart is racing. Like my thoughts are just going like everywhere.
Just breathe and just be curious.
Okay, I'll breathe and actually try and notice what's going on right now. And yeah, maybe I am a bit more stressed than I need to be. And just need to be more calm.
Jack, take this heart. See if you can apply more compassion to this situation.
Okay, yeah, maybe I can be a bit kinder to myself, and I have been probably a bit too hard on myself. And yeah, this is a difficult situation to be in. You know, my car's broken down. I'm on the side of the road, and you know, it's not my fault, and nor is it the car's fault. So yeah, I'm sorry for hitting your car.
Jack, you are doing so well. You're being curious, you're bringing some compassion to the situation. Let's see if we can access your calm centre by taking a new perspective with this telescope.
Okay. Yeah, maybe, I can imagine myself from far away and give myself a new perspective. And yeah, maybe it's not as terrible as I thought it was. And actually, I probably can, calmly deal with it. And so yeah, thanks, girls. And I think I can cope with this now. So I'm probably just going to call the breakdown service.
It feels like our work here is done. Using the 3 C's is another way of understanding how we can respond to situations rather than get caught up in our reactions to them. The process that Jack just went through could just take a matter of moments once you've practiced your mindfulness for some time. By using Jack's present moment awareness and his mindfulness values and applying them to the situation, he was able to stop adding difficult emotions onto the situation and instead step back and try and access his wiser part of his thinking.
It's important to note that nobody does this perfectly all the time. I know I don't. But mindfulness does help us move towards making wiser responses to our experience. We might find over time that we are starting to cope a bit better. Although difficulty will still arise in our lives, perhaps we're less likely to add to our suffering through misguided reactions.
So, let's go and see how our other helpers find their calm centres.
So now I've started meditating, I'm sort of more curious as to what's going on in my body and in my thoughts, which before I just wasn't at all. I was just bumbling through life and didn't really know what was happening. And but now I've started to notice those thoughts, and it kind of puts it into perspective a bit more, and I can sort of understand how I'm feeling a bit more, and then from that kind of react in a way that I want to.
So yeah, Calm Centre for me is a place where where I'm able to just recognise and observe what's happening for me. So how I feel physically, how I'm feeling. It's not a place where I necessarily need to get involved in what's going on around me, just allowing me to observe what's happening for me in that place and time.
I'm going to lead a meditation now that we call the 3 C's. The C's are curiosity, compassion, and calm centre. This is a shortened version of the meditation that you'll find on our website, so please download the audio if you'd like to try the full length. As we move into the meditation, you're invited to find a comfortable posture And if you want, maybe gently close your eyes. Bear in mind that it's likely you'll notice thoughts from time to time, and that this is quite normal in all meditation. We just simply try to return our awareness to the focus of the meditation as soon as you can. Maybe congratulating yourself for noticing when the mind has wandered. Aiming to bring a compassionate response to any difficulty you encounter rather than getting harsh with yourself or judging. I'll ring the bell to signify the start of the practice, and again when we're finished. Stage 1 is curiosity. So, inviting your awareness into the present moment and what you notice in this moment, being curious about your experience. Just noticing sounds as your ears drink in the different tones, pace or tempo, perhaps even just moments of silence. Just being curious. We don't need to judge or analyse what we notice. It's a different type of curiosity in which we just experience the moment as it unfolds, noticing how things are always changing. If you want, you could expand that sense of curiosity to include sensations in the body. Perhaps noticing what you feel from your posture, perhaps what parts of the body are supporting the weight. Noticing sensations arising and falling as they will. Perhaps there are things that feel pleasant or unpleasant in the body. And again, just noticing, perhaps naming what's there, but not getting caught up in thinking or analysing. As best we can, just bringing a sense of acceptance and non-judging to what is present. And paying some curious attention to the state of your mind or any feelings flowing through the body, whether there's a sense of busyness or calmness or some sort of other experience. Again, we're not judging what we find, we're just being curious. It doesn't matter if our mental state or our emotions are not how we want them to be. In this stage of the practice, we're just curious to what's there. Sometimes it's helpful to know what's there, to have a sense of our overall well-being. When you're ready, moving into the second stage of the practice, in which we generate a sense of compassion. Compassion can take different forms, and in this part of the practice, it's kind of up to you how you want to do this. But to begin, just seeing if you can hold your experience in awareness with a sense of compassion towards whatever you've found. So if there is any difficulty and distress, just noticing how you respond to that. Is the voice within you a compassionate one, or is there a tendency to perhaps judge or criticise what we find, perhaps getting lost in fear or frustration? So as best you can, just spending a few moments, seeing if you can relate to yourself with more of a sense of empathy. So perhaps having a sense of holding your experience in awareness, maybe even imagining yourself and seeing what it's like to bring a sense of friendliness towards yourself. Sometimes that can be difficult if we're not used to holding ourselves in this kind of positive regard. It might be helpful to imagine yourself smiling back at you as if you were looking into the mirror, seeing yourself at your best, and with a kind of friendly attitude towards yourself. So spending a few moments holding that image in your mind. Another thing that can be helpful is to deliberately introduce some coping statements into the practice, especially if you are finding things difficult. It could be as simple as just reminding yourself, I'm okay, I'm doing my best. Just finding something that works for you and just letting that kind of ease into the meditation. Like sometimes it's okay to bring a sense that is almost treating it like a mantra. We just need to hear something positive and supporting sometimes. Other people might find just bringing awareness to the breath and the body is the most compassionate way to respond in this moment, if it feels the most helpful thing for you. If you don't feel any difficulty at this part of the practice, this stage is an opportunity to work on compassion in a wider sense. So imagining what it's like to view ourselves in a wholly compassionate way in which we don't need to be perfect, that we can have limitations, that on a heartfelt level we come to just accept ourselves as we really are. And again, we can make that part of our meditation practice, breathing in acceptance, breathing out a sense of just allowing ourselves to be however we are. So just spending a few moments now as you sit in the practice, seeing how you can develop compassion for yourself. And then when you're ready, we can come to the final stage of the meditation, which we call calm center. It's not about forcing calmness onto ourselves if we don't feel it, but the idea is that perhaps even in the midst of flurry and stress, there's a part of us inside that can relate calmly to what's unfolding. And often if we've been curious and compassionate, it's a bit easier then to find that calm place inside. But again, it's different for everybody. For some people, it may be helpful to come to the breath, perhaps noticing tiny pauses between the breath, little moments of stillness in the body. Or you may find it helpful to call to mind imagery that's calming for you. Perhaps even elements of the environment that somewhat reflect the mixed nature of experience. So I sometimes like to think of a mighty tree, that it might be swaying in the wind, its branches getting pushed around all over the place, but the trunk stays still and the roots go deep. Or perhaps a lake, the surface is all kind of rough from the wind, little waves everywhere, but deep inside the lake there's a sense of calmness and stillness. Whatever kind of image works for you. Sometimes it's helpful to just have a sense of perspective in order to find our calm centre, as if we could kind of look at ourselves from a distance. How would you view your situation if you were looking at it from another country, or from a long way away, or even another planet? We get very caught up in our difficulty in the moment and our problems, that's very natural. But if we take a perspective and we stand back and look at what's going on, sometimes it doesn't seem so bad. And I find in those moments, if I follow the breath and in a sense step back and observe what's happening, perhaps there is a calmness, even in the midst of a situation that feels the opposite of calm. So taking a few moments, finding your own calm centre, even if it's just a tiny speck, it's just a starting place, a possibility that there could be calmness, whatever works for you. I'm going to bring the practice to a close now, but feeling free to continue practicing at home if you want to.
That brings us to the end of our Mindful Living course.
We hope you found it a useful first step towards making mindfulness a part of your daily life.
And do remember to go to the website and download any of the audios or the booklet to help you on your journey.
So that's goodbye from us. Goodbye.